Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and this week we have a lot to talk about with iOS 27 features, iPhone Fold, iPhone 18 Pro Max, and much more. This is your weekly Apple News update for the week of April 6th, 2026. NASA has started sharing photos from the Artemis 2 spacecraft of photos taken directly on iPhone 17 Pro. So you can see here the 17 Pro Max where they're actually looking back towards Earth and it was taken with an iPhone. NASA approved this and it's the first time we've seen photos taken from an iPhone 17 Pro Max aboard a spacecraft. So this is great, and it's great to see, of course, astronauts be able to use their own phone for their photos as well. iPad turned 16 last Friday, where the original iPad that I have here was shown on January 27, 2010, and then released on April 3rd the same year. So I can't believe it's already been 16 years, and we've come a long way from the original iPad to the M5 iPad Pro. But all of them are great devices and something I use every single day. Let me know what your favorite iPad was in the comments below. Apple has sent out the invites for WWDC 2026 for those who applied to attend. On Apple's website, you could go to WWDC 26, scroll down, learn more, and request to attend. If you requested to attend, you should have already received either a rejection notice or one that you've actually been invited. So this is not media invites. Those typically go out closer to the event, so closer to June 8th, but a few weeks before. With the launch of Apple's new MacBook Neo, Apple snuck in a new mascot of sorts with the little Finder guy. Apple has been releasing videos on YouTube Shorts and TikTok with him, and even created a picture of him with the thumbnails in the Shorts videos. So you can see here on Apple's TikTok page, where if you scroll down, it's the little Finder guy created by all of the different thumbnails of all the videos with him in it. So be sure to check them out. They're sort of cute little commercials for MacBook Neo and other things. And of course, you'll see the little Finder guy in different poses throughout the videos. Now, for Apple's 50th anniversary, Apple celebrated around the world and at Apple Park. They also invited the Wall Street Journal to interview Tim Cook and also showed off some prototypes of products from early on. The interview was decent but showed very little of the prototypes, such as the first iPhone prototype and others, and I would have loved for them to spend more time on some of the products, as Apple doesn't typically show them anywhere and never talks about older products typically. They don't really have a museum and normally don't show off the different prototypes such as the iPhone, iPod, and others. However, if you'd like to get some new wallpaper for the 50th anniversary, Basic Apple Guy actually posted quite a few here with 50 years of thinking different on his website, and if you scroll down, you can see some of the wallpaper that you can pick up for your iPhone, iPad, and Mac. So I'll link those in the description below if you'd like to check them out. Now, Apple a couple weeks ago announced that it's planning to make more iPhone parts in the USA. You can see here where on March 26th they announced Apple adds new partners to its American manufacturing program. So it says at Apple, we believe in the power of American innovation in manufacturing, and we're proud to partner with even more companies to produce critical components and cutting-edge materials for our products right here in the US, said Tim Cook. So this is something that's going to start ramping up over the next year or so, and we're already starting to see Apple continue to diversify its overall product supply chain throughout the world. Now, a couple weeks ago, Apple launched Tap to Pay on iPhone in Mexico. This is something that not every country has, but allows you to pay someone directly from iPhone to iPhone using Tap to Pay. So that's available in Mexico now. With recent updates, Apple patched a very serious security threat and also pushed out updates on many different devices that we didn't expect. iOS 26.4 patched that for many of us. iOS 18.7.7 patched that on all devices that refused to upgrade as well. However, Apple has also said that they have no record of a successful spyware attack against any device running in lockdown mode. If we go into settings here, and then we go down to privacy and security, scroll to the bottom, you can put your phone in lockdown mode for the most serious threats, where it says turn on this extreme protection if you believe you're being targeted in a cyber attack. It says apps, websites, and feature functionality will be limited and some experiences may be completely unavailable. If you're using this, again, they have no record of anyone being hacked while this is enabled. So it's a great option, but also highly limits the device as well. There's a new website if you want to go over all of the iPhone launches. You'll see here that's been put out by Sheets.works. And if you scroll through, you can see all of the different iPhones, the significance of them, the entire lineup, the story behind them, and all of the moments that mattered. This is a great data set website that goes over all of the main features, the price, and everything else. So definitely something worth bookmarking. And again, I'll link this in the description below, but great to go over it, see everything from the iPhone 10 to the latest iPhone 17 Pro Max and iPhone Air. Now, the Mac Studio M3 has slipped to a 4 to 5 month delay. This is also true of the Mac Mini. If we go on Apple's website, you'll see even with the base memory configuration with the M3 Ultra, delivery is pushed back to May 18th or May 26th. And then it says order now, pick up in store on May 28th. It looks like it's been pushed back for just about every configuration of the M3. And this is something that might indicate we're getting an update very soon. We also see this with the Mac Mini. So if we go into the Mac Mini here, you'll see if I select just a couple different things, such as the M4 Pro chipset, it's pushed back 10 to 12 weeks. And if you order now, you could pick it up in July 10th in the Apple Store. So this is something that's been pushed back quite a bit. And usually when this happens, it indicates that we're getting some new products very soon. So hopefully that's the case. Maybe they'll update them finally to an M5 Ultra and M5 Pro chipset in the Mac Mini. I would love to see that, but we'll have to wait and see if they're going to release those very soon. We could get a press release with some of those new updates though. Of course, we're still waiting for an iMac update to the M5 also, though. Also, if you just picked up a new Studio Display XDR and you go to order the version with the VESA mount, Apple has actually reduced the price by $400. You'll see it's $2,899, where the one with the tilt and height adjustable stand is $3,299. Prior to this, it was actually similarly priced, and Apple has now reduced it and refunding some people that actually have complained to them. So make sure that if you did pick up this version, that you actually call Apple and see if you can get a refund, as they've reduced the price if you want the one without the tilt and height adjustable stand. Also, Apple's earnings call is just a few weeks away on April 30th. They announced it on their investor relations website. You can see it here, April 30th, 2026 at 2 p.m. Pacific time. So you can listen to this online at this website. I'll link it in the description below if you want to check out their latest earnings and maybe their products sold. When it comes to app updates, with the release of iOS 26.4, it now supports chat clients or chatbots directly in Apple CarPlay. ChatGPT has been updated so that you can use the chatbot directly within CarPlay. Also, if you use Google Meet, you can now use that on CarPlay as well. So those have both been updated to support those features. Also, if you use WhatsApp, they're releasing an update for CarPlay soon as well, which is in beta testing according to WA Beta Info. You'll see on their website here, if we scroll down, where they'll say WhatsApp on CarPlay from Siri integration to a native beta app. So this is in beta testing right now, where you'll have this in the near future. When it comes to weekly Apple deals, there is still a discount on AirPods Pro 3, although not as good as it has been in the past. They're $224 on Amazon by Apple. Also, there's $99 off the Apple Watch Ultra 3 right now, again on Amazon from Apple. And then the new MacBook Pro M5 Pro and M5 Max are $200 off, and there's even a discount on the new AirPods Max 2. So I'll link all of those in the description below if you want to check them out as well. When it comes to releases, Apple stopped signing iOS 26.3.1, meaning you could no longer downgrade to that version, and it's possible we could see an iOS 26.4.1 to fix additional bugs and issues that we haven't seen fixed with 26.4, such as the text to Siri bug, where if you start to text maybe an app here, it should give us some suggestions. They're not showing up at all, and you should be able to quickly open an app with just a few letters. Those things have not been fixed yet, so we could see a 26.4.1 to resolve those issues. And of course, we're waiting for iOS 26.5 Beta 2. Now, we don't have a timeline on either of these, 26.4.1 or 26.5 Beta 2, as we just had a release last Friday of iOS 26.5 Beta 1 version 2 or re-release and the public beta. So based off of that, we could see maybe another week go by until we see iOS 26.5 Beta 2. It's possible we could get it this week like we did every week with iOS 26.4, or we could see it maybe on the 13th or 14th. We'll have to see in what Apple actually does when they push this out, and based off of that, I would expect iOS 26.5 to release to the public sometime in early May, maybe the first or second full week of May. Of course, the big changes coming next will be with iOS 27, and we should see iOS 27 Beta 1 on June 8th at WWDC 2026. That's typically what we have. We won't see a public beta for a few weeks after that. Then the public beta will release. Then we'll have quite a few betas throughout the summer. And then, of course, a typical public release sometime around September with the iPhone 18 launch. So that's what we expect going forward for now. I hope we see iOS 26.4.1, but at this point, we don't really know. Now, when it comes to iOS 27, we've not heard a lot about iOS 27 other than it would be a stability, bug fix, and battery update. However, Mark Gurman has said that Apple will include a separate Siri app with an extension feature. It would feature a voice interaction and text input similar to what we currently have, but it would also integrate with more third-party apps such as Claude and Gemini. So instead of just having ChatGPT and Apple Intelligence here, we would have additional options with a separate app altogether. We'd have extension options for maybe many third-party chat options or chatbots that are available, and future ones as well. Gurman has also said that Apple is testing a keyboard that would work more like Grammarly. So whether or not it would have a number row, I know many people switching from Android would like to see that. This doesn't really bother me much, but I know many people would like to have the number row consistent there. But according to Mark Gurman, it would suggest alternative words and work with autocorrect. And we may never see this keyboard though, as there's no decision as to whether or not Apple will implement it yet with iOS. So we'll have to wait and see if that's what they're going to do. Another update to iOS 27, of course, will be Siri 2.0 instead of just that separate app, but according to Mark Gurman, the new Siri will allow for multiple requests at once. For example, you could ask Siri for the weather and then make a calendar appointment all in the same sentence, and it would complete those tasks for you. Shortcuts could also get an update soon based on code found by Nicholas Alvarez on X. You could write custom actions and shortcuts using AI. We have a little bit of that already where you can implement some Apple Intelligence features here. Of course, you can open scripting, add actions, and much more, but you can also use Apple Intelligence a little bit already. But this would be much more advanced and be easier to create shortcuts based on what you would prefer. Mark Gurman has said just a little bit about watchOS 27 as well, where he said it will bring some new AI features similar to iOS 27, but will focus on bug fixes and overall improvements along with performance. So there's quite a few things that need to be refined here. Many people complain about battery life. Mine seems to be okay, but you get this occasional lag when you switch between different screens. Those things really need to be refined to bring it up to Apple's typical standard of OSs. So we'll have to see if that's what they do, but it looks like this year is going to be much more like a snow leopard year where they work on refining things. Now, with products coming soon, Apple is about to start production on the iPhone Fold. Mark Gurman has said that the iPhone Fold will be the most significant overhaul in iPhone's history. Of course, we expect a display similar to Samsung's, but with less of a crease. Samsung is said to be making the display. They've been making good foldable displays for a while, so to have one like this without any crease whatsoever and maybe a different design theme would be great to see with a different aspect ratio. iPhone Fold is also expected to launch later than iPhone 18 Pro models this year. We expect iPhone 18 Pro and 18 Pro Max to launch in mid-September like normal, but the iPhone Fold may not see a release until December, according to Mark Gurman. So this is typical when Apple introduces a new product such as Vision Pro. They'll show it off and then release it later on. We'll see the same thing with the Fold, it seems, this year, which is great for reviewing a phone, less products at once, and also gives more of the time to make the decision as to whether or not you're going to upgrade. Now, with the iPhone 18 Pro this year, it seems the upcoming iPhone 18 models may actually get a smaller dynamic island thanks to a smaller Face ID sensor, and this is based on a photo from leaker Ice Universe on X. After that news was released of the smaller dynamic island, someone named Early Apple Leaks posted a new photo of what it could look like as well. So it could shrink just a little bit. It won't disappear entirely, it seems, but it basically will just shrink down and maybe shrink down on all the models this year in preparation maybe for thinner phones or future phones. It also seems that the iPhone 18 Pro models will not be available in black again this year. Instant Digital on Weibo has said that black will not be an option. We could, however, see a red color as rumored earlier, brown or purple, but the finalized colors have not been revealed yet. So maybe we'll see some all new colors. Maybe we'll have silver, which is typical, along with a red and brown. We just don't know yet. But I would love to see a candy apple red or maybe a product red version of the iPhone 18 Pros, and maybe we'll see that, but we'll have to wait and see. But Apple should push out something like a jet black iPhone. I would love to see them bring that back since the iPhone 7. Apple is also working on a 200 megapixel sensor for next year's iPhone. Not this year's with iPhone 18, but the iPhone 19. So we're expecting a larger sensor to go in the camera. We've also heard in the past that we could have a much higher dynamic range, where Apple's working with Samsung on that. So we'll have to wait and see. Apple, of course, is still working hard on a milestone 20th anniversary iPhone, and according to Digital Chat Station on Weibo, Apple is working on an uninterrupted display with an under-display camera. Now, they're having some issues with this, it seems, to get the camera right under the display, as that's been tricky in the past, but they are working on that. The same leaker also suggested Apple will have a bezel-free display where it's wrapped around the phone on each corner. So we could have that all glass iPhone. Some have suggested it would have sort of a titanium frame inside with the glass wrapping around it. So that could look pretty great. But again, Apple prototypes a lot of different phones, and we'll have to wait and see what they actually create. Now, we haven't heard much about the Apple Watch this year, and it seems that that's due to little or no changes with this year's Apple Watches. Some people have said that the base Apple Watches will change a little bit, but Mark Gurman a couple weekends ago said he did not expect any changes to the Apple Watch lineup at all this year. We've seen very few changes, if any, with watchOS lately as well, other than what I just mentioned earlier. So it looks like we're not going to get a huge amount of updates, and honestly, on Apple's release website, we typically see Apple Watch at the bottom. So on their release website, when they release all of their different updates, they always place the Apple Watch on the bottom now, and maybe that's due to lack of focus with it or lack of changes. We don't really know. It could be just a coincidence, but it is something I noticed where it used to be closer to the top. Now, I already mentioned a Mac Studio and Mac Mini possibly coming soon, but according to ZDNet in Korea, Apple is working to make the iMac OLED in the future. The OLED panel is said to be a 600-nit OLED and still only 24 inches. This will probably be a couple years off, where Apple will trickle down the OLED display into everything from their MacBook Air, MacBook Pro, and all the other Macs first. So we'll probably see that later on, but I would expect, hopefully by the end of this year, that new MacBook Pro with an OLED display that could be a Mac Studio or MacBook Studio. Now, Apple is still working on a HomePod style device, which I've mentioned before, that could be more like a HomePod with a display on it, but we haven't seen anything just yet, and it seems like Apple's waiting for Siri 2.0 to come out before they release that. Apple, however, is still working on new full-sized HomePods and an updated HomePod Mini that should be released later this year, according to Mark Gurman. HomePod Mini is now over 2,000 days old as well, so hopefully we see some sort of revised version very soon, maybe with new colors, a new design, possibly the HomePad style with a screen, and many other products. We also expect the HomePods to launch around the time of a new Apple TV as well. It's been quite a long time since Apple pushed out a new Apple TV. I would love to see a new design with, of course, a upgraded chipset internally, but my Apple TV works just fine for me, so I don't really need an upgrade unless it's significant, but I would love to see a new design for that as well. So that's everything so far to expect from Apple, hopefully in a few weeks or later this year. I'm looking forward to that new MacBook Studio, if that's what they're going to release, maybe an M5 Mac Studio as well, and of course iOS 27 bringing stability and refinement. Maybe they'll finally fix the wallpaper bug and it won't go back and forth in different updates, UI glitches, and overall smoothness and stability, and brings us back to the iOS 6 era where it was just incredible. Let me know what you're looking most forward to in the comments below, and of course I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do. If you haven't subscribed already though, please subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.